can start. So my presentation will be also in English as the previous one. So good morning, everyone. My name is Bartłomiej Bugajny. I'm from Poland. I'm working on one of the company placed in Wrocław, but the company is the UK company. So the head office in the UK. The name of the company is the Objectivity, and my role is just be a test manager, and I'm helping the clients with setting up the process, strategy of the testing, the test plans, and so on. Today's session, I would like you to present how we can easily automate the visual testing. Everyone knows that every time this is a problem for the project because there is no time just to check the validations, to validate the UI. So every time we are in the trouble. But I would like to show you how easy and it's not very difficult just to start checking and just building the automation tests and checking the user interface with the layout and other stuff. So just a quick agenda. So I would like to tell about the visual testing. What's that? Maybe not the definition, but why it's just saying that this is a visual testing. I would like to show you how to automate the test scenario. So how to start, where to begin, what we need to have. So I will use the tools presentation. This is the Eyes Seleniu. So this is the framework Seleniu WebDriver, which is used the library Eyes, which is developed by Applitools company. So it's unfortunately it's not free. It's not free at all, but there is a possibility to have it free. But the rule is that you can have only 100 comparison for the month. So maybe it's not a big value, but it depends how many changes you have in the application per month and how many the UI changes. So it depends if you have released one for the 3 weeks or one in the month. So maybe it's not a problem. Maybe you don't need to buy this tool and you can just use the free ones. So I'll show you how it works. I will talk about how to analyze the test result. So how we can when we just see the report, what the information can we get from there. So what it's showing, how we can just see what test scenario passed and why it's failed, and so on. I would like also to go through the other option because, as you know, we have many of the tools that we can automate visual testing. So the Applitools Eyes is not only the one. We have many. So, for example, this is the Galen framework, which is the Java one. Also, we have, for example, Image Magic, which is also the free tool, and we can just combine it with our Seleniu code as well. I will talk about some running in the parallel and also in different browsers and different devices. So we can also just check the visual of our application on different web browser, different mobile or different device. So we can just, for example, see if the rendering of the page is the same and it's correct one. And after that, I think that we can go to the questions and answer at the end. I bring some t-shirts from the Poland, so I have some stuff for the questions, so feel free to ask. So visual testing, what does it mean? So definitely it is checking the user interface on the different devices. As I mentioned, that you can check the user interface on the mobile, on the computer, on the laptops. Sometimes the users, for example, for the presentations, they're using the TV screens or something big like us here, and sometimes this web is not looking good, for example. The checking the content of the page, so not only the layout is the other thing, but for example, we can validate if the text or the information presented on the page is the correct one, so it's also checking the content of the page. Checking the loaded images. So many times we have a performance issue with loading the images, and when we just run the test, it doesn't wait for the loaded image because it was too big, and the test finished. and sometimes we don't have information that the image didn't load on the page. So this is also one of the things that it's in the visual testing. Validating, of course, the layout, so how it's looking and everything is correct, it's presented correctly and it's visible for the user, and all of the information are on the page. And of course, cross-browser testing. So it depends what browser is used by the client, for example, or which is the common one. And we know that now the Opera, Chrome, we have Firefox, we have Internet Explorer, and as you probably know that in the past the Internet Explorer was the one that had many of the problems with the visuals and presenting the web page. So that means that cross-browser testing is a very important thing. What are the advantages of automated visual testing? Maybe not only visual testing, but automating the test scenarios. Yeah, so it's, as we know, it's incredibly fast. That when we automate it and we have this script just coded in the Seleniu WebDriver, for example, and we have a continuous integration and so on things, then we can run it very quickly. We don't need to just have a look of it, because it's, for example, can take in the night, and it depends when we just schedule it. Visual testing is a flexible thing and it's pixel perfect, so it can validate each of the pixels on the page, which is, I think that for the human it's very difficult just to see each of the pixels and validate that everything on the page is correct and it's visible and all the colors are right. So that's why it's also very good thing. It's also significant time gains of and the risk of the regression test, because we are saving the time, and we know that if we have a regression and we are just we didn't change anything in our page, I mean from the visual perspective, then we know that if we have this regression part, then we will know that nothing failed on the page. So that's also a very good thing. The last sentence here, which is one method could replace many lines of the code. It is something that I would like to show you. It's based on this Applitools Eyes knowledge that I have. Because when you want to prepare the test, the automation test, just using the Seleniu WebDriver, I think you need to write a lot of code. You need to put many of the lines to just have this visual comparison of the pages, to have a visual comparison of the layout. But Applitools Eyes have just one method, and in this just one method you have everything. You can check everything on the page. So I think it's a very easy one. So let's just see some examples why I think the visual testing is a very important thing in testing. So here you can see that there is a issue with the layout, so it's not presented correctly here. The next one is the login page. It's very similar, each of this picture here, but there are the difference. Maybe you cannot see the difference between the second one and the third one, because here is the frame here, which is not visible maybe, but this is the difference between all. So using the eyes now, you cannot just see the difference here, but the tool and the automation will check it and just show you that there is something different here. But definitely the first one doesn't have the login and the password information in the text box. Let's go to another one. Here, there's the content which is not readable for the people. You cannot just read the proper way what's saying there, and also it's a very, I think, bad issue. The next is a mobile thing. So you can see some kind of map here, and there is some communication error and a lot of things on the page, which is also not very visible for the user. And here we have some digits, and we have a drop-down menu, which is now, we cannot just, for example, here just type 2 or just type 3 because we have a drop-down, so it's also the visual testing issue here. So as mentioned, I would like just to show the good presentation, which is the Applitools Eyes. So I can just also do the live code here, but I have recorded that yesterday just to show you. But of course I'm here also for those 2 days, and if you have any other questions after my talk, we can just sit down together and I can just show you opening the Visual Studio or something like that. To be honest, I don't have. I have just free trial. I have just this one, and it's for me it's enough. I don't need to have more. So I'm just using this 100 comparison per month. So going to the details, I'm using the Visual Studio. So I'm using the .NET Selenium WebDriver for .NET application. So this is the Selenium WebDriver, and this is the icon for Applitools Eyes, and all of these things together, plussing together, just giving us the test that it's allow us just to check the user interface. It's very good because the Applitools is integrated with many of the tools that maybe your company are using. So it's very easy just to put it in our continuous integration. And also, I just checked it for TFS. Now it's the VSTS. This is a Microsoft product. I will just show you later on how easily it's integrated with the VSTS, so with the Microsoft product. But it's not only that TFS, you can just integrate it with the TeamCity Jenkins, depends what the tool you are using. It's also very good with the languages that you are just coding, and maybe there's some application that you are implementing on the mobile version, or also you can compare just the screenshots. So using the code, and for example Visual Studio, you can just say, okay, let's take a picture from this folder, from this location, make it as a baseline. So this is that thing that I would like to compare it to it. And then just give it to the next folder, next picture, and then get both pictures and just see if there is any difference between them. So it's not only working for the web application, mobile application, desktop application, but also for just for the files which are stored on your computer, on your drive. How it works in the very easy way. So we have a tester on the left. So the first thing is that he's using a driver, such as Seleniu, for example. Then he's simulating user actions. So have find the element, click that, set keys, other methods, and just he's iterating with the application, just doing some scenarios, some end-to-end testing. And also he's creating the checkpoints. And the checkpoints are the place where the Applitools Eyes is just screenshotting the information on the page and comparing with the baseline that you created previously. Then there is a call to Eyes SDK, to the SDK API, to perform a visual checkpoint. Then this is sending to the image to the Eyes server. And then you have a test manager, which I also want to show you, which is a very, I think, big tool just to work with your test scenarios, with the results and the screens that you did. So it is just UI version for after you just create and run the test scenario. So you can just see exactly what you did and what was compared. So starting with the simple test in Selenium, I know that the audience here, you have experience in Selenium, but I would just want to show you that how is the easy way just to start also implementing the visual comparison. So here we have a very simple one thing, which is opening the Chrome browser, the Chrome driver, going to the URL here, is the Google Chrome. So then it's finding the element, which is the text box in the Google, and just typing the information you would like to search. And the next is a find element. I mean, it's the button. Here is in Polish, so no worries about that. So it's just using the XPath because it depends how the information of the page is presented. So we can just click on the search in Google, and then we have a result. Of course, we can also to this scenario add the things that not only we would like to go using the Selenium and just test it and check the functionality of it, but also we want to just check and validate the visual testing of it. So the first thing which is added to our test, this is the that we need to create an instance of our eyes and also set up our API key. The API key we are getting when we are just create the account. So each of the API key is for the user. So when you just log in and open the Applitools website, you can create your free trial account, and then you will get your personal API key, which is then using this API key, the Applitools know where, when you log into the test manager, you will get the correct information about your test scenario. Then we have two methods. One is the open one, and the second one is the close one. So the first method is initializing the connection with the application driver and the ICE server Seleniu and the ICE server. So there are 4 arguments here. The first one, of course, is the application driver. The second one is the application name. The third is the name of our test scenario. And the last one is the resolution that we would like to use for our test and check this on the website page. And of course, there is a close, which is telling to the ICE server that the test is finished and is complete. And then we have a key method. It is the things that I told you on the slide, where was information that one method just is enough for it. And this is this method. This is the check method, and this is a key one, I think, because it is a checking. It's a capturing the screenshot of the page of the entire window, and it's sending to the ICE server where to be matched to the previously screenshot. So we have a check window, which is doing the screenshot of the page, sending to the server, and this page this screenshot is comparing with the baseline that we created previously. And then you get the result of what was the differences between those two screenshots. Yeah? This is the example of the test manager. So this is the place when you can just see the results after you test. So the test after the test is run, then you can go here. You'll set the test. You can see the test scenarios on the left. On the right, you can see the result of the pages that you checked, and also it's showing you it's showing and highlighting the place when what the differences. For example, when you just want to compare the slightly two different pages, then you will see everything highlighted in pink. And this is the way how it's highlighting the screen. Okay, let's go to the demo. I will just open capturings that I prepared. So I did it very fast yesterday. Sorry for the watermark here, but it was I just used the Camtasia. I don't have a license. But the trial version is that you can capture everything, but there is a watermark. But, by the way, okay. Okay, so here I just changed something for this scenario. So I just put it. I just commented the things regarding the Google and put the here information that I would like to see the differences in our SQA Days website for our conference. And just compare the user interface of it and just see exactly what's the difference if I just run this test 5 minutes later or some few minutes later. So first thing is running just the Seleniu test, just only the Seleniu one, so it's not screenshotting anything here now. Okay, let's run it. So just open the page and close. And now we will just run same scenario, same test scenario, but with these additional points here. I mean the key for the Applitools. So as you can see, there is the driver, the same as in Selenium. We have the eyes, we have an API key. So then we have the eyes open. We would like to open driver. The name of the page is SQA Days. I changed the name of the test scenario just for test on SQA Days. And here we have this checkpoint, which is validating the content and the layout of the page that we want to test and we want to check. So in running the test, there is no difference. Everything is the same as in the Seleniu. If you're just, of course, watching what's happening. Okay, so running the visual one. My connection wasn't very fast. Okay, so we have a result of our visual test. So now I'm going to this. And the first thing, now we are creating the baseline. So we have a new test scenario name, which is a test on SQA Days. And now we have our baseline we created now. So now this is something that when we run each of the tests later on, it will be compared with the thing that we just have it here. So let's run it once again. So we expect from the test scenario that definitely the difference in the page will be in the time, in the time that left to the conference. It was 6 hours, so it was very late hour, 7 hours. So when we refresh our tests, now we have information about the unresolved. Because Applitools doesn't know if this is the correct behavior or maybe the UI changed because we did something new user story. And here we have a difference, yeah? So we have a difference in time. How many hours left to start the conference? As you can see here. It's a very nice tool, this test manager. It allows us just to see exactly the difference, just highlighted them, and also that highlight the difference, and just press it, it's just putting the information and where are the difference in the page. You can of course zoom the sides and see other or fit to the best view. Here you can just go to the first difference when you just type it again, go to the next difference, and go back. Here we have a combo that we can want to, for example, just check the layout, and there is no difference in the content, so it's not difference here and here, because we just want to see if there is any changes in the layout. But when we back to the restricted model, then we can see it once again. And the big, I think, the nice thing here is that we can just add the region inside that we don't want to check because it is dynamic thing. And in that page, the dynamic thing is that the timer, and it's changing the time, it's just putting here. So I just add the region, and I'm saying ignore that. And then I need to save it, and that's saying, okay, so this is a new baseline that we will use in the next our test scenarios and compare to. So when I run this test again now, I expect that it will be passed because of that I just ignored that region that is dynamic and is changing. So let's run it again. And of course, it's still We go back to our test manager to see the result and open, and it passed. And it passed because we just put this information about it to ignore this radian. And as you can see, it's not checking that thing. Okay, so we can go back to the presentation. Okay. So Applitools integrated with the VSTS. It's a free thing in the VSTS, and it's a we can just add it using the marketplace. If you have a project just using the TFS of VSTS, I think it's a very nice thing. So this is a separate dashboard for the Applitools result, and it's also showing this similar thing that you have in the test manager. In the one of the tab which is named Applitools. So another tool that we can be used for comparison of the sites is Galen framework. So Galen framework is for the Java application if you would like to just write it in the Seleniu, but also there is a possibility just to compare the page using the specification files. So you can build something. You can build specification files using the Notepad or other tool just to write the text. And using the command line, you can just run and compare the website. And the way how it's working, it's just checking where the things are placed in the page, and also what's the size, what's the color. So you are just building the file with the specification of the site that you want to check. And you're just putting the information that this button should be in that place in this cell. This button should be 20 pixels. This button should be red. And when you just get all of the information regarding the things you want to check on the page, then you can just type it on the specification text in the file. And then using the command line, when you run it, then you will get the result of the comparison of these things that you would like to check on the web. So for example, we have an application which could be open on our desktop, but also it could be open on our tablets or our phones. So, for example, as you can see here, I have an example from my company, which it's the website of our company. As you can see, it's different in each of the devices that we can hear. And for example, we can just write in the file that for the desktop application, on the first section is above the second section. The white is 600 pixels and the white is 90% of main white. But the second section, I mean this one here, 2, 3, and 4, aligned horizontally all three sections. But for example, on the mobile, it will be the visibility of this will be a different one because of the responsiveness of the page. So here, for example, the first section is about the second section, aligned vertically but left the second section. So this is another way just to how we can just compare and use the visual testing here. This is the example of the test report that Galen produced. It's different one that you have in Applitools, of course, but this is free. It is producing the information what was wrong, and it's just putting something like the heat map. But it's not the same that Google has a heat map and just showing you where the users are clicking. But here, the heat map is the comparison of the things. And the heat map, it's just showing the things, the burned things, which is the difference between two things, between the, for example, two images. So this is a different than the heat map, for example, which I have in the next slide here. So for example, Google is just putting the information where the users are clicking mostly here. That's why it's just saying that this is a heat map. We can also see any other summaries and statistics regarding the web pages, because the people when were creating the applications for the users, for the end users, they are also checking the statistic of usage of the web browsers and also of regarding the devices in each of the country. So you can see, for example, statistic what is the popular one browser used in United States, of course in Russia as well, I think. so you can see everything on this website here. And on the GitHub, I think that you will also be able just to see this presentation and those links that they are presented here. So on the GitHub, there is one of the things that our colleagues from our company prepared using the image magic. So he prepared his own code to comparison two things to screens, but using another tool which is free. And thank you very much. I know that I just saw that this time is up. So thank you once again, and feel free to just ask questions. I will just look at water.
Друзья, у нас примерно 10 минут на вопросы. За лучший вопрос вы получаете, даже не за один вопрос, а за несколько вопросов, докладчики вас наградят. Так, начнем с вопроса.
Whatever you said.
Can I use this experience for game development? Хорошо. Могу ли я использовать этот опыт для того, чтобы делать игры? Ведь там нет разных страниц, есть единственный экран.
I think that something doesn't work because I don't have this the headphone with. Sorry about that. Maybe I was forgotten to take it from.
Okay, I'll ask you a question.
If there's.
Okay, so the question was whether he can use this experience to develop games, because in games we don't have several pages which should be compared, but there is just one screen.
Mm-hmm. So, just answering your question, I think it's a very good one, but I don't have experience in games testing and never used any tools to automate anything, just to compare the screen in the game. I'm not sure if that tool, I only use it for the website. So.
К сожалению, у меня нет опыта тестирования именно игр, и можно ли сравнивать экраны в различных игровых приложениях. То есть я использовал только для тестирования веб-страниц, поэтому по поводу инструментария, по поводу методик не могу посоветовать здесь.
Отлично, следующий вопрос.
Thanks for presentation. I guess, as I understood, you are using this in your daily work. And the question is, how many test cases in your suite, and how many of them are using Applitools checks? So, in which reason are you actually using the Applitools?
То есть какая причина, почему вы вообще используете эти Applitools инструменты, и сколько у вас в программном пакете компонентов, из каких она состоит?
So, answering your question, so the clients, they don't want to pay for that, of course, because I don't know, to be honest, I don't know the price. What's the price for the most of more than 100 comparison? But we use
I
it.
guess to 20,000 is $60,000.
Probably is a huge value, I think. But we used it for just one project where the release we have just maybe one for 3 weeks, and it works. So it wasn't many of the comparison, but just only for the one project. The problem is that the client they don't want to pay for that, and also it is something. I think not very cheap in our automation when you are just building the test pyramid. So this is the last stage, of course. So basically we want to just cover everything on the bottom of the pyramid, on the unit integration, and then we are just going to the UI. So it's not very popular, and my intention just wants to show you how easy that we can just start with that.
Ну, дело в том, что клиенты, как правило, не хотят платить именно за этот функционал. Вообще, эта система не такая дешевая, насколько я помню, там за 20 тысяч сравнений порядка 60 тысяч долларов. И поэтому, ну, то, о чем вы говорили, да, у нас есть там определенный опыт, по-моему, 3 недели такое приложение такой функционал использовался довольно неплохо, но вообще все пытаемся решить на какой-то нижней части пирамиды, то есть не на уровне уже UI пользовательского опыта, а на каком-то более базовом уровне, потому что это просто дешевле, клиенты считают платить меньше.
Yeah, and another thing, one another thing for your question is that Applitools have their own cloud, and sometimes there's the problem with the security for the clients that they don't want to, keep the images of their website, which they don't know where. But of course, you can just buy the on-premise cloud using the, for example, Amazon one and just use it. But you know that talking with the clients many times is very difficult just to.
Ну и еще один момент, есть, скажем, такой клуб пользователей Applitools, и вообще клиенты не очень любят изображение своих сайтов куда-то выкладывать, потому что, соображение просто безопасности, и это очень такая трудная всегда дискуссия с клиентами на эту тему происходит. Вот. Но, конечно, можно через Amazon купить облачное хранилище и пользоваться. Такой вариант возможен, но не всегда клиенты хотят.
In case I have 3 years of experience of using Applitools, I'm very close with the creators, so later we can discuss some stuff.
Sure.
Можно тоже обсудить, у меня 3 года опыта использования Applitools, это очень интересная тема.
Спасибо, у нас около 2 минут осталось,
Поэтому
постараемся кратко.
Small question. Thank you for your presentation. I have a question about Galen. If I want to use this tool, and how can I prepare my test data? For example, I don't know about this one, how many pixels it takes, or how long it is, how many percents.
Это инструмент Galen, который представляет имитацию. Как вы используете?
So also it depends what are the business requirements and how you are just getting this information from the BAs and how they are just preparing the acceptance criteria, because sometimes you are just getting the information that we know what's the color of the button, we know what's the size of the information presented on the page. I didn't have enough time just to show everything, but we can go today or tomorrow. I can just show you. There's a very, very quick and very easy tutorial on the Galen site, and it's just showing you exactly each of the steps, how to prepare the specification file, and just how to create the section of each of the things that you would like to validate on the page. So if you have any time in these 2 days, you can just sit and I can just show you how to easily do it.
Во-первых, многое зависит от того, как подготавливаются исходные данные, то есть данные там по размеру, кнопки по ее функционалу и так далее, то есть много зависит от критериев, по которым производится приемка этих данных и так далее, но сейчас просто нет времени подробно об этом рассказывать, есть довольно большое руководство пользователя по этому функционалу, и я думаю, что мы просто сможем с вами отдельно как-то поговорить, и там я покажу, где взять информацию.
И последний вопрос, на который у нас есть время.
Здравствуйте, спасибо за доклад. У меня вопрос такой, есть ли какое-то описание этих тестов, то есть как вы объясняете заказчику, как вы это проверяли, да, вот, и это визуальное тестирование, вы используете комбинацию с Seleniu, да, то есть
Seleniu. So how do you do it in combination with Selenium? How you press the button to explain to customer?
So you would like to know how, for example, you can prepare the presentation to sell this thing to the customer?
Имеется в виду, когда вы предлагаете клиенту, когда вы продаете клиенту продукт, как правильно объяснить ему механизм, который используется при данном тесте?
Нет, не механизм, а вот что вы сделали тесты, да, и, собственно, что
So
вы
after you
проверяли.
make the test, how you explain to the customer what actually did you do?
Okay, so also it depends how often the things are changing on your site. And do you have only the static things, or do you have dynamic things? And also it depends what are the plans for the stories that you would like to develop and deploy to your test environment. So if you want, you can just explain to the customers that in this sprint, for example 3 or 4, we have 6 user stories which are changing something on the functionality of the page. So for example, if changing something that the content or the value calculated because you are changing the logic, but the logic should still work the same way, but on the page you have a presenting of the value after the calculation, so we can give the answer to the client, okay, so I don't care of that, about the logic, because I expect that this value never be changed on the website after I test it, after I run it using this visual testing, this Applitools Eyes.
Ну, дело в том, что многое зависит от того, что мы, собственно, тестируем, то есть какие элементы мы тестируем, там, статические, динамические, сколько вообще статических и динамических элементов есть на той или иной веб-странице, каково есть соотношение. Но получается, что мы можем клиенту, например, пояснить, что у нас, а также зависит от того, от хранилища, которое мы разрабатываем, хранилище клиентов. И мы можем клиенту объяснить, что, например, есть 6 этих хранилищ клиентов, storages, которые влияют на то, что происходит на сайте, там влияют на изменение контента, на какие-то другие моменты. И также есть какая-то логика, да, логика, она должна оставаться той же, то есть она не меняется. Но вот это значение, которое на сайте, да, оно изменилось. И вот это вот мы можем показать клиенту, то есть после нашего вот этого визуального тестирования, да, что какое-то значение, оно меняется, и как бы это вот как результат своего работы.
I have sure.
Спасибо большое за вопрос, у нас время вышло. Спасибо за доклад, и теперь время награждения тех людей, которые задали самые интересные вопросы.
Yeah, I would like just give I think the best one I asked, I think that's you. I have one for the lady, so just only one, so here you are. Thank you for the question. I know that there was something here.